One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
And oh man, do we always have some crazy developments. Good morning and happy Topless Taco Tuesday to everybody listening. All right, as you guys can see from the title here, Trump demands Iran reparations, as well as Colombia Quake death toll rises and new vaccine order. We got a lot to discuss just from that, from the title there. But let's first chronologically discuss what we're going to be presenting this morning. Now, yesterday we were actually presenting for the first time about the Tupac trial. And we have a little bit of an update on that from yesterday. Tupac Shakur murder trial and jury selection is underway, which we actually have those images for you. Then we also have Trump signs executive order on vaccine flexibility. It says President Trump signed an executive order on vaccines. The order calls for revamping childhood vaccine recommendations. The White House says the order will recommend administering each vaccine in its own visit and separating measles, mumps, and rubella, I don't even know what that is, into 3 different shots. So instead of them putting it all together, I guess, or doing it at the same time. Then we have Max Miller saga complicates midterm landscape for Ohio Republicans, where we're going to be keeping an eye on that, as well as also in Wisconsin. We're about to get into that here in a minute. OnlyFans model sentenced to 6 years in boyfriend's death will get time served, it says. What? Former OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny pleaded guilty to manslaughter with a deadly weapon in the stabbing death of her boyfriend, Christian. And I don't know how to say his last name. Under a plea deal, Clenny was sentenced to 6 years in prison, followed by 5 years of probation, with credit for time already served. What? We're going to be getting into that here in a moment. Then we have death toll rises after the 7.4 magnitude earthquake that shook up Colombia and Ecuador. Actually happened down there. They definitely felt it. We have Wisconsin primary is latest test for democratic socialism. Now, let's see if they actually have anything written down for this. The race for Wisconsin governor is at the top of ballots across the state. 4 Democrats are running in the Democratic primary to succeed outgoing Governor Tony Evers, including Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong. Wow. And it says more here. Francesca Hong is the daughter of Korean American immigrants and a former restaurant owner. The Democratic Socialist currently represents the Madison area in the Wisconsin Assembly. She became the first Asian American member of the Wisconsin legislature. Oh my God, when elected in 2020. Okay. Then we have Trump signs order on childhood vaccines, COVID recommendations, as we kind of were talking about there, but we do have an update on that. Then we have Trump demands Iranian reparations amid peace talks. What? Wait, now we're asking for reparations? What's going on here? Let me see what this is. President Donald Trump on Monday, which only two hours ago, responding to Iran's conditions for a peace deal with his own demands that Iran pay compensation for people killed in wars, attacks, and protests in a rhetorical escalation likely to complicate efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Interesting developments coming out this morning in regards to all of this. Then we have key races to watch in Tuesday's primary special elections. This coming out only an hour ago. And also there is today's voting day as well for half of Alabama, basically the lower half of Alabama. And that's basically they're all voting today. Then we have Colombia earthquake. Death toll rises to 164 people after the quake strikes. This coming out only 34 minutes ago, so this is the latest update that we have on this. More than 160 people are confirmed dead after a massive 7.4 earthquake that hit Colombia. Search and rescue operations are underway. And I actually saw a ton of people's homes that literally got, shucken up and destroyed like what we saw in Venezuela. It was terrible, Anyways, we're going to be presenting all that for you guys here in a minute. Quickly, let's do our housekeeping and we'll get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it. And it's free to do so. You know what else is free? Is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. It's a good time. Now, speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $4.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Full side note, make sure you guys follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time breaking news, as well as politics, all that great shit. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And we also have a Discord server for all of you legends where I actually break minute-by-minute news in the regards to the world, but Middle East primarily as what we're kind of focused on right now. But a lot of, whether it be United States news, Russian, Ukraine, anything regards to the shape-shifting of the world, we're reporting on it. So if you guys want to join the Discord, video description down below is where the invite link is. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen at any time. You can donate to those where I get 100% of the proceeds. And of course, we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. So I've got my email up. We're always going to be scanning. All right, good morning to everybody, man. Thank you all for being here. Let's see who we've got in the building. This morning, Carney Vanguard was the very first saying, good morning, Mike and the Breakfast Club. That's a fact. And he says, double tap that screen. That's also a fact, Jack. We got Motobomb Virginia, and thank you to the coffee crew, Motobomb and Carney Vanguard, for the raid this morning. I very much appreciate you guys. And also the coffee crew that came with it as well. We got Vanguard Critters. Good morning to you. We got Lolly in the chat, by the way. Good morning. We got No Grow as well as Dutch Carp Fishing saying good afternoon and the like is done. Well, that's a W, by the way. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. We got Ron Ratty from Down Under. We always appreciate my man from Australia. Good morning. We got AU as well. Good morning to you, kind sir. TNT, always appreciate having you in here. We got Mountain Woman as well saying good morning. And Virginia Chaos. Yes, sir. Good morning. We got OG Steve Easy. Shout out to my man. We got Jamie Lindsay as well. Good morning. All right, we're rocking and rolling, baby. We got Hardwire 1%er in the chat. Good morning to you. We got Steve Posey as well. Rabbit of Chaos. Thank you all for being here. We came in with the Carney raid. Appreciate that. I'd Wank. Appreciate you for hanging out with us as well. We're running our way down. We got Mr. Big Boss. I like that name change, homie. Good morning to you. We got Prez as well. Good morning. Good morning. All right, guys, we got to get into it. We're going to start off this morning with Tupac Shakur murder trial. Jury selection was underway yesterday. We got to break a little bit of the news yesterday about this, that this was actually in motion, that it was about to be in motion. And now it got put into motion right after we got off the live stream, essentially. So we're going to watch a little bit of it real quick. I mean, again, we have a lot to get through, so we're not going to get stuck on any one particular story here, but we are going to hear what's going on here. So yeah. See what happens.
Okay, Mr. Davis, do you understand then what we've gone over?
Yes.
Any other questions I can answer this time?
All good.
Okay, and you wish to waive your right to have the jury sentence you on the first-degree murder if that's the verdict?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I will have the stipulation and waiver of penalty phase or penalty hearing filed. That should cut down the potential for how long this trial will last. Previous discussions had been 4 to 5 weeks. Is that still accurate, State? to qualify the jury for.
Yes.
Mr. Stamp, do you think that sounds reasonable, or do you
No,
suggest
yeah,
a longer?
I believe that's reasonable. I do have one concern that's popped up that I wasn't anticipating. I might be asking the court for a day to depose.
What's up, Miss Lotus? Good morning, by the way.
A day?
A day to depose Steve Wilson on August 19th. So apparently my office had submitted a deposition subpoena for Mr. Wilson to make an appearance on a separate issue that's not related.
Unrelated to this case, you have a legal matter.
Correct,
That may
Your Honor.
have to occur.
And that would be on the 19th.
Okay, and let me look.
Now, my concern is, of course, I would have moved it, but the problem is, though, that particular
And it would be
So again, the guy that they're looking to charge on this whole thing isn't necessarily the guy that shot him. Okay. They know that. They know it's not the actual shooter, and they probably, that's not the point of this case they were saying yesterday. The guy that's being, who's suspect in all of this, he's being accused of making the phone call that led to Tupac's death. And so that's what they're basically trying to get him for. This I forget the guy's name that they're trying to go after.
in
But
the afternoon.
Okay.
Well, so here's why I'm saying
But this guy on the top on the left here, where it says arrested above Tupac murder trial, is that guy, but I forget his name.
that I had gone dark on several of my civil days, but I was going every other day so I could keep my civil cases on track. So the 19th,
What's up, Chadwick Stacks? My man, good morning.
we are starting at 1.
Okay.
So if it's able to be in the morning, let me know. If it's something that has to be in the afternoon, let me know as soon as that happens.
I guess it just depends on how long we talk in that deposition. Your Honor. It might go a little longer. I'm hoping to get it done as quickly as possible. I just want to let the court know that we may get a little chatty on that one. And I'm anticipating that there will be a motion filed by the state anyways on that one to stay that particular deposition date because of some type of privilege that might be asserted. So as a result, I think there might be some technical things. We just have not received any notice so far.
So I guess if that's something that comes up, we can address it as it comes.
So it kind of looks like they're going through a little bit of semantics with the whole thing. Of course, I think that's how all of court is. Now, again, semantics can be important. Now, here's the guy. That's the guy right there.
File footage.
Now, let me go ahead and hear that report that she's saying right here. Let's see.
All right, so all of that happening just moments ago. This is some file footage of the defendant, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, right here, as he has been charged, and he is facing one charge of murder with a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, further, or assist a criminal gang in Tupac Shakur's death.
Interesting. So it looks like they're taking a little bit of a different stance as they took yesterday. Actually, this was from yesterday as well. But when we reported on it, the way that they put this whole thing out was like, hey, we know this guy didn't kill him, but he made the phone call that led up to his death. Now, maybe they found something since then, which I doubt. I mean, it's been 30 fucking years. And, but anyways, nonetheless, now they're actually charging him fully for like the death of him. So interesting.
He has pleaded not guilty. So we were just hearing the discussion there with the judge
Extra
as
surprise?
jury selection is now underway. There is
And Johnny Reno, good morning.
no live look in the courtroom as this is not being made public. However, we are expecting a live camera once opening statements begin. So this trial is scheduled to last about a month, and we will possibly be hearing more into really what's one of the biggest mysteries in the hip hop world, which is the murder of Tupac Shakur in 1996. So that is happening right now. And of course, we here at Live Now from Fox are covering it from all.
And of course, anything that comes, out of any of this, we're going to do our best to, of course, cover anything that we brought up. We love to try our best to follow the stories, obviously. All right, let's get into Trump and this new executive order on vaccine flexibility. Let's figure out what's going on with this. Here we go.
Thank you very much. And this is something very important for all of us. And it's a vaccine EO. I'm delighted to be here in the Oval Office as our administration takes another historic step in our mission to make America healthy again. Today, we're proud to officially announce the United States of America's gold standard childhood vaccination recommendations, and that has to do with many subjects, but including autism in particular. I want to thank the man who has done more than perhaps anyone else to bring about this real revolution, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., my friend, and he's done a fantastic job. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, he actually did some sort of presentation and or speech, whatever, yesterday, and I didn't get to watch it. And it was related to our food, but
what a very powerful hand to use. Strong guy, by the way. Thanks as well to Director of the NIH, Jay Bhattacharya, Deputy Assistant to the President
What's up, brother TVT? Good morning.
of Domestic Policy, Dr. Heidi Overton. Our Maha moms, and including Jamie Franklin, is with us today, a very special person, and also the medical experts and professionals who've worked very hard on getting this to happen, this day to come. For long and far too long, a long period of time, America's recommended more childhood vaccines than any peer nation, and even twice as many doses as some European.
Yeah, I forget what the European standard is. I mean, I don't remember the exact numbers, but like what we've been doing was like, I don't know, something outrageous, like 100 vaccines. Meanwhile, the European standard is like 11, right? So
Countries, and even more than that. In many cases, we're requiring 72 jabs for our beautiful,
72.
healthy, lovely.
new, during the first beginnings of your life, by the time you're fully, supposed to be vaccinated, with all of the different vaccines that you need, that's how many that we need, that is legislated. So let's hear that again.
Even twice as many doses as some European countries, and even more than that. In many cases, we're requiring 72 jabs.
72 different vaccines. Wow. And I think the European standard is 11.
For our beautiful, healthy, lovely, delicate little children, including giving the hepatitis B shot to infants and newborns on top of.
Well, that's the problem with, unfortunately, there is, people, because of the whole COVID thing, people became super skeptical over any type of vaccines, which, yes, there are many vaccines that we're taking that we don't need now, but there is a lot of vaccines that, thank God, that are here because they keep us alive. Now, it is your right as a parent. Like if you decide, hey, I'm not going to have my child take any vaccines, that's totally your right to do, just so you know. But those vaccines actually have been proven to be amazing for us as human beings to be able to survive and stuff. So there is a lot of good that comes out of it. But as we saw during COVID, it got weaponized so fucking much that people lost complete trust in it.
Many other vaccinations. The hepatitis B shouldn't be given until they are 14 or 15 years old. They were given early. Effective immediately, my administration is recognizing gold standard childhood vaccine recommendations for only 11 core vaccinations against the most serious and dangerous diseases, along with the MMR, which hopefully will be split up. You have the MMR. We want it in 3 separate.
Well, and that kind of makes sense, Steve Posey. It's like the beginning stages of your life is when you get the majority of them, right?
Vaccinations given at separate times.
Right.
Together, there could be a possibility they're quite lethal, and separately, it looks like they are not at all lethal, but just very effective. So the MMR, we want to have separate visits, separate times. The vaccine being broken into 3 separate single doses, and vaccines being administered in separate visits. For example, at 1 year, you should have 5 separate visits for vaccines rather than getting them all in the same day. And I saw this early on, and I've seen proof of it.
I mean, I also agree. We shouldn't be taking a whole bunch of vaccines the exact same fucking day, even if they are theoretically, quote unquote, safe to do and all that shit. I think your body, I think you should allow one at a time to deal with, incoming shit coming into you, And so when if something were to go wrong, you're able to pinpoint, okay, it was this that did it. But if you combine 3, 4, 5 different vaccines into a single visit, something goes haywire, you're not able to identify what went wrong.
Where they have a vaccination thing, looks like the size of a bottle of soda poured into a little child's body. And bad things happen in too many cases, because this is an explosion. This is an epidemic. So at year 1, you should have 5 separate visits for vaccines rather than giving them all in the same day. Very importantly, vaccinations for hepatitis B, COVID-19, and influenza, among others, are no longer recommended for all children.
That's a very good point that you just made, because there is a lot of people out there that pay cash for their doctor's visits, including me, by the way. It's totally, you're right about that, and not everybody is going to be able to afford that kind of thing. But I guess that's the argument, right? Is, hey, we're able to put this all into one visit, and we can jab you up we can get it all in you now, and so you don't have to come back. And so that's actually a very, very good argument there, Steve.
In addition, this executive order directs the Attorney General to advance legal challenges against states that violate children's rights to religious or medical vaccination exemptions for the exemptions. Other countries with high vaccination rates without mandates for school. Now, what we do is other countries have very high vaccination rates, and they have not had, and they don't have, it's without mandates for school. Parents can still choose to give their children all of the vaccinations if they wish. It's up to the parents. We're making recommendations that are strong, but it's up to the parents if they wish, and they will be covered by insurance. However, this updated recommendation finally aligns the United States with other advanced and developed nations around the world. More importantly, it aligns us with common sense and knowledge. Decades ago, children received only a small fraction of the vaccines required today. In those times, people were much healthier. And of course, the high rates of autism now observed did not exist. So there's a reason for such epidemic rates of autism. And we're going to bring it back to much closer to where it was. Well, we do not know exactly what the cause is with respect to autism. It is essential to our research efforts that we have the very best vaccine recommendations in the entire world. So we're reducing them. We're changing it to visits over a period of a year and a half. So they get 20% of what they would have gotten in one big shot, a big shot like the size of a large glass of something.
So again, now the argument will be, well, now we have to separate this into 4 or 5 different doctor's visits, and this is just a I don't know. That part can be unrealistic for people. Now, it'd be one thing if we all just had the ability, the innate ability to have medical, and it would be, everything would be covered. Well, of course then, but yeah, that is a good argument.
It's a major victory for parents' rights, for religious and constitutional rights, and for the gold standard science. And we will continue to do the research and update the recommendations as we learn more. And I think you're going to see some amazing results. I'm breaking it up. It's not only that you're doing fewer vaccines or jabs, as they say, but you're doing them in a series of visits to the doctor, much smaller amounts. To ensure Americans benefit from these recommendations, my administration is fully committed to using every tool at our disposal, including a review of potential funding and finding. Frankly, we're doing funding and we're doing findings. And the findings will be announced almost immediately as we gain some strong surety. So now I'd like to have Bobby say a few words, followed by Jay, Heidi, and Jamie, and then I'll sign the executive order, which I'm very excited about, because I came in and I said, I want to find what's going on with autism. It's many, many times what it used to be years ago, and it gets progressively worse, and we had progressively more and more vaccines.
Yeah, but didn't we just recently make the claim that Tylenol was like the cause of all this autism, the rise of autism in the 21st century? And maybe it could correlate, but I don't think it would correlate to that. I think your child is born autistic.
So in a nutshell, and you can see it through this, we're breaking up the vaccines and we're breaking them up into time periods. Okay, not so complicated. And we think we're going to have a tremendous result from doing that. Very simply, large amounts of vaccine, large amounts of like vats of vaccine are currently pumped into your child's body. And we're doing 20% of that at each visit. And we'll let time elapse between visits so the body can handle this massive amount of fluid being pumped in. I think it's going to make a big difference. There are some groups that have virtually no problem with autism, and
Yeah, Prez, they're a crazy family to watch, no doubt.
I have to say this, they're groups that aren't big into the world of vaccines. So there's something wrong when we see record numbers all the time, every year for years and years. Every year gets higher autism. And we think we have a very good recommendation, and a lot of good things are happening. We're going to be releasing some very detailed paper. Here's another one, European countries versus the United States. Look at that.
Yeah, I was correct. 11 injections are the European standard. So earlier I was told I remembered that number, but I didn't want to say it with certainty. But yes, the European standard right there is 11 injections. The United States is 72.
These are
currently
high level, very medically powerful European countries. You see the top, that little chart says a lot, but that's the difference. So with that, I'd like to have Bobby say a few words, please, and then we'll go.
I'm kind of surprised that Trump didn't use that number 11. He didn't say that number at all. He just said the European standard.
What to the others, please, Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by just reinforcing something the president said, which is the source of his concern about this issue. And I'll just give an example.
What's up, Brother Dean? Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Good morning.
In 1970, the biggest epidemiological study at that time in history was performed. And the university scientists from across this country looked at all the 8-year-olds in Wisconsin, about 900,000 children. And they were looking for autism, and they knew what autism looked like. And they came back with an incident rate of 0.8 per 10,000. So less than 1 in 10,000. The rate, according to CDC today in this country, is 1 in every 31 children. In California, it's 1 in every 19 children, 1 in every 12.5 boys. So there has been a dramatic increase. One of the things that the industry likes to say, one of the talking points, which the press loves to parrot.
What's up, brother sick bastard? Good morning.
Is, oh, we're just noticing it more. But this is an absurdity, and this is an assertion that has been debunked again and again and again by peer-reviewed literature. But it's also debunked by common sense, because we were just noticing it more. We would notice it in older groups, but we're not. We're only noticing it in kids who were born around 1989 or after. The older generations, you're not seeing those increases. So something happened in the mid-90s that changed our children, and it has to be an environmental exposure. It's because genes don't cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability, but you need an environmental toxin. And what the president has charged us with is finding which one of those exposures or which collection of exposures are causing this epidemic. For decades, I fought for a simple principle.
So they think it's linked to vaccines now?
When it comes to the health of our children, government has an obligation to follow the evidence.
And I mean, listen, 72 vaccines compared to what the European standard is of 11. I mean, yeah, we probably are fucking up ourselves.
Wherever it leads.
That's crazy.
Tell the American people the truth.
There's a handful of good vaccines that I think are necessary, but the rest of them, it's like, Jesus Christ, we got to shed the fat from all of this.
And give parents the information they need to make informed decisions for their families. Mr. President, you gave us a mandate to do just that. You directed HHS to examine America's childhood vaccine recommendations against the best available science and the practices of other developed nations. We did that.
Yeah, Prez, I know. I low key noticed that as well, that she hasn't moved her hand from her stomach the whole time.
At work, and on January 5th, HHS and CDC overhauled the childhood immunization schedule.
I don't know, disaster.
Reducing the number of diseases universally recommended for vaccines from
What's up, Beezer? Good morning.
17 to 11, and establishing distinct categories of recommendations based upon the scientific evidence. Our assessment found that the United States recommended more childhood vaccines than any other peer nation. President Trump mandated.
Oh, she moved her hand just now.
The number is 72 jabs before 18, but it actually could be up to 94 jabs. And nobody else has anything like that. And then many other countries, or most other countries, achieve high vaccination rates through education, informed consent, and public trust rather than mandates. Today, with this executive order, you are building on that work and acting on that evidence. We will preserve access to vaccines, strengthen safety monitoring, expand research, give doctors and parents better information, and restore informed consent and parental choice to their rightful place in American medicine. At HHS, we're already moving across multiple agencies, FDA, CDC, NIH, ARPA-H, NTP, the National Toxicity Program, and other parts of the department. We have already launched unprecedented research effort examining vaccine safety and long-term health outcomes in American children. We are putting some of the largest health data sets in the country to work, including CDC's Vaccine Safety Data Link, FDA's BEST systems, and other major federal and private health data sources. We're pursuing dozens of studies and analyses. We are comparing health outcomes in vaccinated versus unvaccinated children. We're examining aluminum adjuvants, the timing of the hepatitis B vaccine, vaccines administered during pregnancy, and outcomes ranging from allergies to autoimmune disease to autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders. At NIH, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences are working with the National
What's up, Wildcard? Good morning.
Toxicity Program on a comprehensive review of vaccine adjuvants, ingredients that are added to vaccines to amplify the body's immune response. They will determine what the existing science establishes and
Good. Trump a little tired.
where uncertainty remains and where we need additional research. We're bringing that same determination to autism. NIH has launched the Autism Data Science Initiative with 13 research awards examining autism prevalence, causes, treatments, and services. 5 of these will include vaccines among the potential factors that they examine. Dr. Bhattacharya will discuss that work in greater detail. Next month, ARPA-H is preparing a major new initiative focused on foundational causes and biology of autism and on better diagnostics, treatments, technologies, and tools for people with autism and their families. We will examine every biologically plausible hypothesis and leave no legitimate scientific question unexplored. Mr. President, you have told us that you want answers, so do I. We have just over 2 years to finish the work, and I know you're impatient, and we are moving with urgency as that deadline demands. We will bring you actions and findings as soon as they are ready. We will not wait for the 90-day period, and within 90 days, as you have directed, we will deliver the full response required by this executive order. Our task force on safer childhood vaccines was established by Congress in 1986, but went dormant in 1998. Last year, after nearly 3 decades, this administration reinstated it as required by the statute, and yet it was discontinued. And you restored that congressional mandate. The task force is already working to expand vaccine options, examine the timing and sequencing of childhood vaccines, strengthen safety monitoring, advance research into alternative adjuvants, and continuously evaluate risks and benefits using American and international evidence. Taken together, this is what gold standard science means. No predetermined answers, no institutional taboos, no sacred cows, no hiding uncertainty. Test the hypothesis, examine the data, replicate the results, tell the public what we find, and be honest.
Yes, that's the one thing that we've all been looking for is government transparency and accountability. But unfortunately, we haven't gotten much of any of that. All right, we're going to move on, though. So that executive order was signed in regards to the mandate. All right, so Max Miller saga complicates midterm landscape for Ohio Republicans. We're going to be talking about that. And then also later on, we're going to be discussing Wisconsin primary is latest test for the Democratic Socialism over there. There's a big story going on about it. So anyways, let's get into Max Miller first. And then after that, we're going to get into, I guess, OnlyFans modeled sentenced to 6 years in boyfriend's death, but got time served. So we're going to be talking about that here right after this. So let's go ahead and bring this up, do this. Here we go.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. My name is Alexandra Goldberg. Well, the embattled Congressman Max Miller appears to be staying in the race.
He wasn't going to be done for a minute.
Critical deadline to withdraw has now passed. Take a look here. Fox News Politics posting Representative.
Oh, he was sped up. He was at 1.25 wild card.
Max Miller is locked in as the Republican nominee in Ohio's 7th congressional district after the ballot withdrawal deadline passed Saturday, despite mounting pressures from fellow Republicans, including his former father-in-law, Senator Bernie Moreno, to step aside over domestic abuse allegations from his ex-wife. Well, Axios writes Miller would have needed to formally withdraw from the race Saturday to provide enough time for a required 2-day notice before a GOP committee meeting to certify a replacement by Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. The representative from Ohio is facing physical violence allegations against his ex-wife, Emily Moreno, and other women. Emily Moreno, the daughter of Senator Bernie Moreno, has accused the congressman of abuse and threats against herself and their daughter. Miller denies these allegations and has called for an ethics investigation into himself to clear his name. Axios reporter Andrew Pantazzi joins us now to discuss.
So he called an investigation on himself just to prove his innocence.
Hello and good evening to you.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want to start here with Ohio law. We've seen a couple of deadlines now pass. What does Ohio law say about this nomination process?
So essentially, he is in it for the Republican Party. He can still drop out, but the Republicans can't replace him at this point. Their deadline to do so was 4 p.m. today, and they would have had to file a notice of a meeting to certify a replacement by Saturday. And he has remained adamant that he's going to stay in the race, that he believes he will win. And he believes that winning in November would help vindicate him from the allegations from his ex-wife and others.
Have you been able to speak with the Miller campaign?
You know, if I worked for some sort of big, reporting organization, like whatever, like Axios, like he's from Axios, right? Wouldn't you get yourself like a decent microphone? So, I mean, you're talking to an international audience, not even a nation. You're talking to an international audience. Why wouldn't you like have decent audio? Why are we using a laptop from 2011? And it's like, what the fuck, man?
Campaign about this deadline. What is the Miller campaign saying about it?
So, I mean, they've said from their first announcement, which was a little over a week ago, that they did not intend to drop out. And the deadline was not something that they were worried about. And sure enough, that deadline is now passed. And What others have reported is that the White House also played a role in trying to tamp down efforts to pressure him to drop out, because they had heard similarly that there was nothing that was going to get him to drop out, and they didn't want people to be in the awkward position of having called for him to drop out.
Well, hopefully he's on the righteous side of history, right? So, I mean, like, if he didn't actually do anything, then hey, that needs to be put out there. But if he did, listen, man, that's part of the game with politics. You can't really hide. You, like, for instance, I know that I'm being involved in politics myself. Trust me, my past is brought up all the fucking time, and I'm like, I don't even give a shit. Take it or leave it. And it is what it is. All right, OnlyFans model sentenced to 6 years in boyfriend's death will get time served. It says former OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny pleaded guilty to manslaughter with a deadly weapon in the stabbing death of her boyfriend, Christian Obaselli. Under a plea deal, Clenny was sentenced to 6 years in prison, followed by 5 years of probation with credit for time already served. Wow, these bitches are fully getting off. Wow. All right, let's figure out what's going on
So
here.
now on to a Florida courtroom. The OnlyFans model accused of killing her boyfriend inside a Miami apartment has pleaded guilty to a first-degree manslaughter charge and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. 30-year-old Courtney Clenny accepted the deal this morning, which included her pleading guilty to manslaughter with a deadly weapon. TMZ's Michael Babcock joins us now to discuss. Hello and good evening to you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So TMZ writes, quote, she could be a free woman.
I got a question for this guy, though.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
Just an observation.
In less than 2 years. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking when you consider that Courtney Clenny, weeks ago was potentially facing life in prison with the murder charge. But she ultimately accepts a plea deal, manslaughter, as you illustrated. And the fact that she has already served 4 years, and it is actually 4 years to the day when she.
Wow. That's actually kind of crazy. That was 4 years to the day that this all went down. And then the judge gave her time served, even with the 6-year sentence.
Was arrested and locked up for the first time. So because she has already served 4 years, obviously you do the math, she gets sentenced to 6 earlier today in court, already served 4. That leaves 2 more years that she has got to serve. With some good behavior, that could be knocked down by a couple of months, 6 months, let's call it. And obviously then that means she could be walking free here in 18 months when she had the possibility that she never would have seen.
Oh, okay. So it's not that she gets time served and she's out. No, she gets time served of 4 years, and she has to serve her remaining 2 years, almost 2 years. And then she'll be out. Understood.
Freedom ever again in her life.
So she got time served for those 4 years that she was in there.
And let's catch everyone up to speed on the facts of the case. I know that this has been an ongoing story. You mentioned 4 years, but what are the facts of the case that you can share with us?
Yeah, Christian Obaselli was the name of her boyfriend, and there are some facts of this case that are, still not agreed upon by people. It's very polarizing. I think,
and I don't actually even know the actual story. I've heard about the headlines of this story, but I don't know the saga that's about it. To be honest,
you can say for certain that this was a very contentious relationship between this man and this woman. And in April of 2022, at their high-rise apartment in Miami, it was a luxury apartment.
Steve.
He was stabbed to death and he lost his life. And
yeah, my only confusion was like, oh, she got time served and she's being let out, even though she was only in there for 4 years. But that wouldn't make sense. She got time served for that 4 years that she was in, and then she has to deal with that 18 months, and then she's out.
Got a man. You're talking about a man here who was in his mid-20s,
and then I think 5 years of probation. It said
had a family that loved him, who lost their son, lost their brother, lost their friend, and but a lot of people again not happy about this. Bottom line,
that's her right there. Man, she is fugly. Oh my God. You know what? I just
Emotional, damn it.
Crazy.
To believe that this again was a relationship that might have gotten physical in the past. Seemed like these were two people who did not belong together, and that in many ways this was destined to come to a head in a violent incident. And again, that's exactly what happened. And it's just so tragic that he lost his life.
And I also understand that Christian's family was in the courtroom. How are they reacting to this plea deal?
Yeah, I think mixed emotions. On one hand, I think they are happy, and they
Yeah,
said
she's an OnlyFans model.
as much a couple
Model, quote unquote. That's hilarious. Yeah, she's an OnlyFans girl.
of weeks ago when she had agreed to this plea agreement that they were happy to have some closure, that they felt like there was some modicum of justice that was being served here. But at the same time, when you consider that she could be walking free by the start of 2028, I mean, how much justice is that really? So I think mixed
Right.
messages. Now there is one
I agree with Michael on
point
that.
that they are really dead set against happening, and that is this is a high profile case. When she gets released, she was famous before, she was popular before she went into prison. Obviously, when she comes out, there's going to be a lot of interest in talking to her. You could see television shows.
Oh yeah, she's gonna go on every podcast. You know, it's gonna be the same rigmarole with the shit, and then she'll build like and then a decent following off the whole thing, and then she'll pop off for a little bit, and then she'll become nothing in a year or two from now. I mean, look at the Hawk Tua girl and all these other girls that get popular for nothing, and then they don't actually have the durability and the ability to nonstop work and have this ethic. They can't keep up with an audience like that, and then they end up falling off. They all do.
Could see books. The family does not want her to profit off the death of their loved one, and they said they are willing and they are ready to fight tooth and nail if she tries and does that.
She stabbed him.
Point about
I guess she stabbed him. It just says stabbing death, so I don't know if it was with a knife or whatever.
profiting from this. Are Courtney's lawyers
Yes.
fighting that request? How is this now unraveling?
Yeah, so the state hasn't really taken the issue up yet, but obviously the prosecutors are in contact with the family, Kristen's family, and they're working together. And the family has made it very clear, abundantly clear, they don't want this to happen. And the state has talked about that they may take steps to try and prevent her from profiting. There are, as people call them,
Yeah, but unfortunately, you're just gonna have to let her build herself up, get on all these podcasts, go on all these different, maybe even TV shows or whatever the case is, and then she's gonna fall off a year and a half, 2 years later, or whatever the case is, and that will be her downfall. But unfortunately, you can't prevent her from doing those things. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into now the death toll regards to the Colombia earthquake. The death toll has been rising, as you guys can see from the title. So we've got death toll rises after 7.4 magnitude quake in Colombia. Let me see if I actually have the numbers here. I do know that we have another update on it, and it says death toll rises to 164 after quake strikes. More than 160 people are confirmed dead after a massive 7.4 earthquake that hit Colombia and also shook up Ecuador as well. Search and rescue operations are underway. All right, so let's go ahead and see this first because we have two different reports of this. So because of that, we're not going to, stay on, the whole time. We're going to skim around a little bit.
Some news overseas. A powerful 7.4
So
magnitude.
this is why I want to see both reports, because we're going to probably see different video, updated video and stuff. So here's the first one.
Earthquake struck western Colombia on Monday, killing at least 111 people and damaging hundreds.
Yeah, but it actually is up from there already. This reported was at 111 people, and now the number is 164.
Hundreds of buildings. That's according to the newly sworn in Colombian president. Fox News has the latest in a report. Take a listen.
A powerful earthquake rocks Colombia early Monday morning.
It took us by surprise, and we evacuated as quickly as we could.
The epicenter of the 7.4 magnitude quake, about 250 miles west of the capital of Bogota, Colombia's third largest city of Cali.
Damn, look at this destruction.
Took nearly a direct hit, where at least 25 buildings collapsed. The country's interior ministry believes more than 20 towns and cities were hit. Dozens are already reported dead, and the number is expected to
Holy shit, Steve. Wow.
rise as others are recovered from under the debris. Emergency crews are sifting through the rubble, but are concerned about more aftershocks. In Manizales, a spire of the city's Gothic cathedral was seen toppled over in the afternoon.
You got to remember, in a lot of these disasters, unfortunately, the big rescue teams from military level are oftentimes also rescuing the rescuers, the original rescuers that were rummaging through the pile, and then all of a sudden an aftershock happens, and now shit continues to collapse on top, And unfortunately, people get themselves killed trying to help people doing this search and rescue. It's very dangerous.
Aftermath. Colombia is a mountainous country, and small quakes are not.
And you don't even need it to be very dangerous with another earthquake. Shit can still topple over after it's been demolished, and then a building can continue to lose its structure just because it's already damaged. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous.
But Monday's was the strongest in a decade. It even rattled buildings in neighboring Ecuador and Panama, where workers and residents were evacuated as a precaution.
I was sitting in a dining chair and I felt it start to move. It stopped for a moment, and then the second tremor was a bit stronger. We were on a high floor, so we ran out.
The earthquake comes just a few weeks after two equally strong earthquakes devastated Venezuela. Emergency,
which we also reported as well.
The authorities are urging people to stay in place while
not only did we report it, but we followed the story.
They assess the damage. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Well, now Dr. Morgan Page, geophysicist at U.S.
We don't need to hear from a geophysicist. Let's just be honest here. All right, so let's see if we have any other images from this whole thing. It does look like there's a couple of images that I hadn't seen yet. Let's see what these. Oh wait, no, we saw that one.
Of disasters.
Man, the rest.
We can't predict exactly when and where earthquakes will happen. We can't.
Yeah, of course we know that, lady. Okay, we're gonna move on because we do have a later update on that whole thing. All right, Wisconsin primary is latest test for democratic socialism. Let's go ahead and bring this up and figure out what the hell's going on. But first, we haven't even done the money part. Let's just go ahead and do that.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now, that's actual factuals, ladies and gentlemen. Now, also, I think that it's appropriate that we all embrace our fuck-ups.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck-ups when you have tomorrow's fuck-ups to look forward to? You are a fuck-up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
We're always embraced over here. You know what I mean?
Denied.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I love this comment. I got to point it out. Bet she would have had bad audio. You know me too well, VC. That is too fucking hilarious because I thought the exact same thing. I said, yeah, fuck her. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this Wisconsin primary.
Live look at
a lot of states are going through big primaries right now, especially here in Alabama, the lower half. Congressional districts 1, 2, 6, and 7, I think. Those big congressional districts are all doing their voting today.
Milwaukee here on this Monday night, the eve of a key primary. Let's continue our conversation about this. An easy segue to talk about what we expect tomorrow. We're going to be joined right now by Terrell Wright from the Wall Street Journal. This is going to be a very tight race.
Look at this guy.
Tony Evers. You heard there from David Crowley, obviously rejoining the race after
those are pretty thick framed glasses.
Dropping out in July, got the endorsement of Tony Evers. What do you expect tomorrow? What will define this race?
So tomorrow's race could be incredibly close, but right now from polling, what we've seen is Democratic Socialist insurgent Francesca Hong does appear to be ahead in the race. So it could entirely be clear. We saw in Michigan, we saw that the polling.
I already don't like how this guy, I can tell he's young and maybe, not fully broken in and experienced yet, but I will say that it does come off as condescending when you talk to people like that. People think that that's them being professional, but people like me will take it as like condescending,
It's a bit off, and that Abdul El Sayed did not do as well as the polling suggested. And maybe that could be the result tomorrow night in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. But at the same time, Francesca Hong is doing very well in the polling, and she's favored to win right now.
And obviously, she dubbed herself a wild card in this race.
So my predictions are on this whole thing. For me, it's still kind of a toss-up on the House. It could go either way, but I do think that the Senate, we're going to hold the Senate. That's what's going to end up. And that's my predictions. I mean, I could be totally 1,000% wrong in all of this, but I'm just saying that my predictions are that we're going to hold the Senate. The House, I think that is obviously where it could flip. So we'll be paying attention for damn sure.
You mentioned Michigan, and obviously across the Lake Michigan, they do touch borders a little bit there in the north and the UP. How much are people in Wisconsin paying attention to that? Is this motivating people to get out to the polls, whether one way or another, to continue the progressive movement or to try to stymie it?
Well, there's huge sort of progressive momentum going on right now. We've seen successes in Michigan, not just with Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, but also Donovan McKinney, who won his House race. He was a Democratic socialist who defeated an incumbent. So, we've seen successes from the sort of left-wing insurgents in Philadelphia, in New York City, in Colorado. Clearly, there is a progressive streak going on. But what tomorrow will be a test of is whether this can continue to happen in America's heartland.
And yes, by the way, I do support now the passing of the SAVE Act because they detached the NDAA. When they tried to attach the our funding with and the intelligence sharing with our national defense budget, they tried to attach it to the SAVE Act, and so I made a big fucking stink about it, and so did a couple of other people, other creators and stuff like that, which I'm glad that they ended up kind of speaking up on it. But nonetheless, I guess the Senate and well, just Congress in general said, you know what, we need to separate these two because it won't, there's like no chance it'll pass if it stays this way. So they'll probably attach it. They'll probably try to attach the NDAA with a different bill of some sort. So anyways, back to this.
Wisconsin is a purple state. It's a state that President Donald Trump
Yes, sir,
has won.
Steve.
And
Yep.
they might not be entirely ready for democratic socialism, but at the same time, democratic voters might feel that they're ready to elect a democratic socialist who is the chief executive of the state.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And as you mentioned,
Brother So Loud, yes, sir. Good morning. And good morning to you over there at the boondocks in North Carolina.
the polling might indicate Francesca Hong, she dubbed herself self-proclaimed wild card in this race. How has she garnered so much?
Yes, it's fantastic news, by the way, because all the way up through, I've been in support of the SAVE Act, but then when they attached the NDAA originally, I was like, no, dude, now this is bullshit. But now that it's totally disconnected, I support it again. So
Attention, how much has she really leaned into what's going on around the country?
I think what's really interesting about this race, Andy, is that she has not received the endorsement from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, nor Bernie Sanders. So she's really had a grassroots effort, mainly based in the urban areas of Wisconsin.
This guy, I don't like the way that he's talking. And honestly, we're not getting anything that we haven't heard about politicians in the past anyways. Yeah, so democratic socialism is on the rise, as everybody knows. It says, C-SPAN says, Wisconsin governor candidate Representative Tiffany on Democratic support for opponent Francesca Hong, which is the Democratic Socialist. Quote, it is very clear that the leadership of the Democratic Party, they have capitulated to the big government socialism that she's selling. Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know what...
capitulated. The big government.
See, that's what happens when you're an illiterate fuck.
Socialism that she's selling. How much are they leaning into that, warning people about this?
We got Brother 13 in the chat, by the way. Good morning to you.
Progressivism, this democratic socialism.
All right, we already know that it's on the rise. We've been reporting on that for, the last basically year about that. All right, Trump signs order on childhood vaccines, COVID recommendations. We already went through that, so we don't need somebody else to come in and give us a discussion about it, some sort of analyst. So fuck that. We're going to just exit out of that. We're moving on into Trump, and Trump demands Iranian reparations amid peace talks. What? That's what the thumbnail is today, as you guys can see. This coming out this morning. Yep, and it says pay up to the Islamic Republic of Iran, reparations demand. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into this story and figure out what's happening here. This is coming out, let's see how many hours ago. Doesn't any longer show, but it was only a couple hours ago.
We'll continue with more of these comments in just a little bit, but we have officially reached the top of the hour, 5:01 here on the East Coast, 2:01 over on the West Coast. So let's head back out to some more of the top stories that we are following closely, including the developments in the Middle East. Bringing us out to a social media post courtesy of the Associated Press. It says this, that the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Iran will not reopen the Strait of Hormuz until the United States ends its naval blockade on Iranian ports. Iran wants the U.S. to lift the blockade, pay compensation for months of war damage, lift economic sanctions, and release Iran's frozen assets. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a waterway that normally carries roughly 1/5 of the world's trade oil supplies, has become the war's most lasting consequence. Speaking of, we do have a live image courtesy of marine traffic of the Strait of Hormuz. Take a look at this. Just a reminder that the green dots on your screen are cargo vessels and the red dots are tanker vessels. At the same time, though, President Trump just yesterday scoffing at Iran's demand for reparations because...
Yeah, because then the demands that they were asking for were nothing that we were going to bow down to. They were completely unrealistic demands. And so Trump also made a demand, a counter demand that, hey, you need to pay us reparations.
Of the war, a demand
War
that he says
reparations.
Tehran negotiators had not raised until now. A lot to get to this morning, so joining us next into the program is Dr. Asaf Romarowski. He is the executive director for Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. Dr. Asaf,
Hey,
good morning.
we haven't heard from Dr. Asaf in forever, actually. I really enjoy his objective takes.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for joining. I want to hone in on this point from President Trump yesterday. Iran now demanding compensation because of the devastation due to the war. Trump saying that they never even mentioned that before now. What kind of tactic is this that Iran is trying to employ? Are they trying to just stall these negotiations?
Well, yes. I mean, this is part of the pattern of behavior that the Iranians have always played out. They try to ride the wave. They try to insert that, their entire modus operandi is based on deceit and trying to insert new factors into the entire dynamic in order to try to say that they are the victim. That's part of the tactic they've always been played. They've made this all about the economic.
Yeah, they're very good at poking the bear and then running around and then playing victim. It's very true. And in history shows that.
War for vis-a-vis the Straits of Hormuz.
Not just
of
this war.
They've held the world. They've tried to hold the world hostage in the markets. As a result of that, positively, we've been still able to get out barrels of oil in the millions, and so the markets have kind of stabled a bit. But yet again, there's concern about security.
Wild card. I think that he's got an ego problem, and I think that it's hard for him to make objective observations because he's been so previously to Iran. He did have a master plan that I think that he was truly working out. And if it were to have all worked, it would have been brilliant for the United States. I mean, think of what happened right before the war with Iran, right? You've got him living high. I mean, like he's off of a high, off of just a single day takedown of Maduro in Venezuela, right? Like that one, like, could you imagine the high that you're on? Like you've ended, all these different other wars. You've got all this foreign investments. You've got all these great things. And the last step that he needed to happen for him was Iran. And unfortunately, it didn't work out the way that he thought that it was going to. And there is no good exit strategy now. And so now I think that he's still in that kind of like, everything's great. Look, everything, blah, blah, blah. He's still in that because I think that he has an issue with admitting that, hey, this is not going the way that we thought. Right. So he's not going to do that.
Security and whatnot. The interesting part about, the tweet that you just posted is, of course, that in addition to the response, made by the president was also the fact that he demanded that if, Iran is playing these games, that they should pay reparations and compensation for holding the world for terrorism for the past 50 years. And the Iranians, of course, deny that they are responsible for any of this. So this is all an ongoing tactic in order to say that they are indeed blameless. Which is, of course, a fallacy. And at the same time, this also validates.
Well, if you were to say that they're blameless, I wouldn't even say it's a fallacy. I would just say it's a straight up lie,
Gives them the rationale to continue what they're doing, not to mention the attacks. But what it does, it keeps us in the game. And of course, they're looking for us, to attack so they can, of course, be the victim. And that's part of the diplomatic and military ping pong that is currently playing out.
To your point there, Asaf, I also want to post up this social media, a post from Al Jazeera where they say that U.S. President Trump says that Iran should be held responsible for the damages and death caused by the people of Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Gaza. Speaking of, we do have a live look of Khan Yunis there in Gaza. As we know, the war there continuing after the October 7th attacks. Asaf, talk to us a little bit about some of the damage that we have seen.
No, unfortunately, wildcard, this is an unfortunate chain of events, and we found ourselves in another forever war. And what I mean by these is, for instance, like Iraq, Afghanistan, pretty much all those Middle East, Desert Storm, all this shit. We were there for way too fucking long, and that's because we get ourselves in a situation that they're not going to just wave the white flag and say, okay, we're going to give you regime change. This shit is a huge deal. So anyways, I think that we've accidentally found ourselves in the same Iraq situation, the same Afghanistan situation, 8-10 years of warfare in an area. It's going to be fucking terrible. And this is exactly what I predicted before the war. And I said, please, I really hope that we don't go to fucking war. And then we went to war. I'm like, okay, well, please, at least we don't put fucking troops on the ground, because if we do, it's just going to be such a bloodbath for everybody. It's not going to be fun for anybody. Real quick, we got my man. We always call him, Fester or Family Life. My man, thank you so much for coming in on the Cash App just now, saying, Left-Handed Tobacco, happy Tuesday. And yes, well, happy Topless Taco Tuesday to you too as well, kind sir. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, double tap the screen. I know there's a lot of craziness going on around with the world, but listen, you guys don't have to like it for that reason. Like it for me and what we're doing here on Insane Wheels. So I appreciate that. Oh, and also we're in overtime officially, by the way. You know what they say? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your freaking money. Absolutely.
Across Gaza, across Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, and Iran's involvement. Just refreshing our viewers here on more of the backstory, because the focus has been the U.S. and Iran for, a long time now.
Well, 100%. So let's contextualize the fact here. I mean, let's go back to 2023 as far as 10/7. This has been part of the multi-front war with Iran. I mean, Iran has had its bloody tentacles on every terrorist attack since 1979. When it comes to the recent history, of course, we talk about when at 10/7, Iran has been the major patron of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. All these monies go in. I mean, the so-called MOU. I mean, part of the
What's up, Marilyn? Good morning to you, by the way. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday to you as well. Good morning.
The advantage, or where these countries were waiting to reap the benefits from this, was because they were hoping that these monies that would be released would come back to fund groups like Hezbollah. Let's also go put it into context. One of the main reasons Hezbollah was able to attack and prepare, and they were able to step right into the war on 10/8, was because of the money and the armaments that they received that allowed them to build up their arms as a result of the JCPOA back in 2015. So all of this is part of the responsibility of Iran, while Iran has been able to try to keep everybody at arm's length, but at the same time sponsor and fund all of these activities. What's currently happening in Gaza, it's a different dynamic. And of course,
that is a whole different shit show as well. And both sides are at a stalemate for sure as well on that. And I mean, you guys just saw that Netanyahu, we reported this yesterday, but Netanyahu rejected the peace plan regards to Gaza, the 15-point plan, and Netanyahu rejected it. So
it plays out well for the Iranians because the focus, well, for Gazans, for that matter, the focus has been on Iran. And at the same time, nobody's looking to see what's happening within the Gaza Strip. There was an announcement by the Board of Peace that Hamas agreed to a disarmament. The Israelis rejected that because they will never disarm. They're never going to give up their arms. They're never going to give up their munitions. They're never going to.
That's exactly what I said. And it's like you're just going to be in this stalemate situation. And I think Netanyahu likes being in that stalemate situation, to be honest.
Their ideology, and the Israelis, cannot
because
afford to go back.
He gets what he wants on both sides, whether they disarm or they don't disarm. He gets exactly what he wants.
Back to a 10/7 reality. This is part of the challenge. Netanyahu has come out very clearly in response to these statements that has come out of the administration, out of the Board of Peace, that they are still going out rightfully after everybody who was responsible for 10/7, which is a major problem within Israeli society. And I will remind your viewers, of course, that the Israelis are going to elections for the first time since the war began at the end of October, on October 27th. So there's a lot of political hype and a lot of political campaigning going around now to ensure the fact that everyone running can maintain the safety and security of Israelis. All of these have been enemies and existential.
Now, I didn't know that they're in an election cycle right now. That's interesting. First time since October 7th of 23, when, obviously that terrible day happened. But that's interesting. I didn't know that. So I'm definitely going to have to investigate that.
The threats that Israel has been dealing with since 10/7.
Going down to a social media post, courtesy of the Israeli Prime Minister.
We reported this, obviously, yesterday. They're showing that Bibi Netanyahu, he said at the top of his government meeting, quote, Israel does not accept the 15-point document. The IDF will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is genuinely disarmed, and it will continue to thwart threats against our forces and citizens. All right. Let's see if they get anything else here. Javier Blas puts out, U.S. President Donald Trump seems to be pursuing a, quote, no war, no peace, just economic pressure on Iran. Key for that strategy is to get enough oil out of the Strait of Hormuz in dark shuttles. That's what they're calling, moving tankers, or maybe a smaller maybe barges or something. I don't know. So prices don't spiral out of control before the economic pain on Tehran works. Key problem: Iran has demonstrated an incredible capacity to absorb financial pain in the past. And yes, I mean, when we did the naval blockade on them this last time on their Iranian ports, they were losing a total of anywhere from $300 to $400 million a day, which is a humongous number. And also they're feeling the pain right now on the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports right now. So yes, they are willing to withstand and basically go completely bankrupt. They don't give a shit, and that's the problem. Is yes, you're going to give them the economic pressure, and they're going to ask for you to stop, of course. But they're not gonna like go, okay, we concede to you now. That this is the problem that we find ourselves
in the past. Can you help break this down a little bit, how Iran is able to absorb this financial pain, and if there is any kind of timeline that even expert analysts can put on when Iran might be more willing to negotiate because they don't want to go through this financial crisis?
So let's be clear. I mean, the Iranian economy is crumbling. I mean, the rial is worthless.
Well, you got to remember also, wild card. A lot of the strategy is not just actual on warfare front of like bombs and shit like that. It's also, you got war, like a mind, we've got like psychological warfare going on, as well, as you guys can obviously see. Each side will say shit that is just extremely polarizing, and it's psychological. It's very much psychological, but they're also doing it against the public, whether it be the Islamic Republic of Iran or it be us citizens here in the United States. It's interesting to watch all the way around.
I mean, the people are suffering. There's problem of basic necessities when it comes to water and power. We're talking about a country of close to over 93 million people. It's massive. It's larger than the size of Texas. I mean, so we're talking about huge economic impact on Iran at large. That being said, the crux, or really where you saw the economic exchange point is really Karg Island as it relates to the Straits of Hormuz.
Right, and that's all the way up there in the north part of through the strait. You've got Karg Island, of course, that they produce. They basically refine all of their oil there and then send it back. From there, that's where their main refine area where all of their oil really does go. So like 90%.
The Iranians can't stop drilling. They need to maintain ongoing oil.
What's up, brother RP? Good to see you in the chat, by the way. Happy Topless Taco Tuesday.
As far as movements, and that's where they're taking hostage. They're also trying to work with the Omanis on the other side to try to circumvent the United States, and
as you guys know, the Omanis are currently, basically stabbing us in the back, or actually right in the front. Actually, they're doing it right in front of our face. They're supposed to be our partners in this whole thing, and unfortunately, Oman is changing position on that, and they're now working with the IRGC. They're working with the Iranians to essentially control the strait, in the aspect that the inbound traffic would go through the shipping lane for on the Iran side, so they would collect a toll there, and then when they come out, they would actually be on the Omani side, and the Omans would charge a toll. So it's crazy landscape we're in.
You've been able to ride the wave to the point that, and what you're seeing here, to the point of the comment that you posted, they're still able to work with the Chinese and the Russians and other, non-allies of the United States in trying to keep it riding the wave at large here. This is where I think we need to put a lot of pressure on the Iranians, and not to mention put pressure on our European friends in order to deal with the insurance companies, in order to try to crack down on the Iranians. I mean, they've made this the biggest sticking point there is. It is a sticking point as far as the market's reacting. There is no doubt that there is reverberating consequences as it relates to the upcoming midterm elections, and the president and the administration have been trying at large to try to maintain lower gas prices and lower oil prices, not to mention the impact on aluminum and other kind of commodities that require oil. And so we've done a little bit of that, but there is reacting effects, and we need to see much more response.
Yes, I'm in support of this, Steve Easy.
From our friends in Europe, as a result of all of this, to get as much pressure as possible. And let's not forget, beyond the economic issues, which is a critical point here to my mind, let's not forget the highly enriched uranium. Let's not forget about why we got into this altogether.
Yep, absolutely. Now the whole focus is on the Strait because yes, obviously it's a major choke point of the world. I've always said missiles grab headlines, but tanker routes move economies. And unfortunately, they have the leverage on being able to shut down the Strait because enforcing the Strait to be closed is a lot easier than enforcing it to stay open. It's way more difficult to enforce, like by 1,000 times more difficult to enforce it to stay open. And so they do unfortunately have the leverage on that. And now the main focus is not allowing the world's economy to basically collapse. And so it's
the threat.
Now again, leading up to this point, 48, 49 years ago now, when they took over the Islamic Republic of Iran, when they took over, they've always threatened that if the United States ever attacked us, we are going to shut down the Strait. Like that has been their mindset since day one. They're like that. We know what will make it hurt. We know how we can defend ourselves, and they've had it planned out forever.
Of Iran achieving the bomb. Again, an existential threat to the region at large. The Alamo for the Iranians is Pickaxe Mountain, and that is the fortified Ma'anin Taz, where they've been able to basically put all the materials that are still there. There's still intel that talks about the fact that they have potential new materials when it comes to ICBMs. There are still valuable military threats out there, and that's, again, a combination that's playing out here. What we are seeing here now, and this is a concern that has come out over the past few days, is about, our munitions when it comes to interceptors, and as far as when it comes to fat.
Right, stockpiles. A lot of the stockpiles are extremely low. Like even Saudi Arabia right now, they're down 86%. 86% from their stockpile of Patriots, which is crazy. I reported those numbers in the Discord yesterday, by the way. If you guys are interested in any of those, go in the breaking news area of the Discord server. And if you guys aren't in the Discord, make sure you guys join up. The link to that is in the video description down below. All right, let's get into these last couple of stories here. Key races to watch in Tuesday's primary, which is today, for the special elections. So let's go ahead and pull this up. I know Alabama is going to be one of them. About half the state, the lower half of Alabama is all voting today in their special elections.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. It is Tuesday. Thank you so much for being with us here on Live Now as we break down everything politics. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'll be here for the next several hours as we take a live look over the Capitol there on the right-hand side of your screen. Take a look at this map as well as several states today.
All right, so Minnesota, Wisconsin, Alabama, South Carolina, Vermont, and Connecticut. Interesting.
Holding their primaries.
So we've got special elections in Alabama and South Carolina, and then the primary elections are the ones up there in the north.
Along with some special elections. You can see them highlighted on the map right in front of you. A big race today is going to be over in South Carolina, where a special election could determine which Republican Senate candidate advances to that November election to fill the seat held by Lindsey Graham up until his sudden death. Take a look at some of the top candidates right here. Lindsey's sister, Darlene Graham, was chosen by Governor Henry McMaster to fill the seat until the election, and she ultimately decided to run in the primary in the hopes of keeping that seat. She has been endorsed by President Trump, but will face off against some big names in South Carolina politics, like Congressman Ralph Norman and Russell Fry. Now, Wisconsin voters also paying close attention right here as they head to the polls to decide which Democrat will face off for governor against the presumptive Republican nominee, Congressman Tom Tiffany. Polls show Francesca Hong,
first one,
Democrat.
Yeah, the Francesca Hong, the very first one. She is the Democratic Socialist.
Presumptive Republican nominee, Congressman Tom Tiffany. Polls show Francesca Hong, a Democrat socialist, with a significant lead over her opponents, which include David Crowley, Joel Brennan, and Kelda Roy. Now, of course, we are also going to see that race for the Republican spot there, but Tom Tiffany is projected already to win. As far as another race that a lot of folks are watching, this is the Democrat primary for U.S. Senate in Minnesota. It's either going to be Congresswoman Angie Craig or Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, with the winner vying for the Senate seat vacated by Senator Tina Smith. Smith, by the way, has endorsed Flanagan for that spot. Right now, I want to bring in Michael Rasmussen, the director.
I like how they didn't even talk about Alabama's elections today.
Of
These
Rider University's Rebovich Institute.
They don't give a shit.
For New Jersey politics, as we break down everything related to that big race. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with
Listen, I ain't voting for anybody named Peggy.
us
Okay.
today.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
All right, so Micah, the big question here, what race are you watching closely? I have an idea, but just wanted to ask you to break down which race you're watching and why.
Yeah, so if I have to pick one, it's going to be the Wisconsin governor's race.
Yep.
Ironically, that's the
I
one.
knew he was going to say that because we have the hot button term Democratic Socialist. So.
Where a lot of the national progressives are not playing. They have not endorsed Hong. It is not part of that big battle royale for who takes control of Congress. But I think in South Carolina, we are not going to have an immediate result. I think we're probably going to head to a runoff election in 2 weeks, which is absolutely nuts. But I think this is the preliminary event. I think Darlene Graham probably gets that top spot, and it's a battle between the other three, Ralph Norman, Russell Fry, and Mark Sanford for the second spot. So I think the big one today, the biggest one, is Wisconsin governor.
And I want to pop up a live look that we have just coming in. This is from Columbia, South Carolina, one of the polling sites right there. I have to imagine that we are going to hear from a lot of the candidates as the day progresses, especially talking about that special election for the Republican spot in the Senate. Also important to note that if no candidate gets more than 50% of the vote, you then move to a runoff election. So this could go on for just a little bit here. Again, we're going to get these images coming in. Ralph Norman expected to join us here around 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. He's placing first in some of the polls there. But as you mentioned, Darlene Graham, essentially likely to get this nomination in the end. But, you know, anything's possible because that's kind of how it goes in politics there. Now, as we look a little bit more into these.
All right, we don't need to do that. Let's see if they bring up the map again. So again, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Vermont, and Connecticut all have primary elections, and then we have special elections in Alabama and South Carolina. Let's see if we have any other updates from my state. It'd be kind of nice to be able for them to show that, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. I think they're too focused on the northern states, which would make sense. All right. Let's go ahead and move on then. We're going to go into Colombia earthquake. Now, this is the latest update that we've got. Death toll rises to 164 after Quake strike. So let's go and bring this up. Lucy has joined us on the back of the chair, so she's hanging out with us, as you guys can see. If you guys are on the vertical side, there she is. You guys can only see her ass, I guess. All right, here we go.
My name is Josh Breslow. I'll be here for the next several hours as we break down all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Right now, I do want to take a look at some of the aftermath here as search and rescue operations are resuming today as the death toll again rises after that powerful earthquake hit Colombia just about 24 hours ago. Colombian leadership saying at least 164 people have now been confirmed dead, with many others still believed to be trapped under the rubble of damaged and destroyed buildings just like that one that you're looking at on your screen. Early estimates show about 1,600 buildings and structures have been damaged or collapsed.
Damn, how many? 1,600?
On your screen. Early estimates show about 1,600 buildings and structures have been damaged or collapsed.
Damn.
Altogether, and that number only expected to rise. There's also a citizen-run website for missing persons, and that shows that more than 2,700 are believed to be missing after the 7.4 magnitude earthquake there in.
No, because they know that Republicans are pretty much going to win, and they're not worried about that because they're looking they're looking at an opposition level, so they're going to be talking about those key things. They're not worried about Republicans in Alabama.
Colombia. I want to talk a little bit more about all of this as we continue to track the very latest. We do have Dr. Alex Nicolin, Associate Professor of Geophysics and Department Chair at Binghamton University, joining us now live. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning.
Good morning, Josh.
I want to start by asking your kind of overall thoughts here. As you start to see this play out, you hear 7.4 magnitude earthquake right there in Colombia, and you start to see all the aftermath there. As someone who studies all of this, what's kind of going through your mind?
Well, we're seeing, unfortunately, another event along the Pacific coast of North and South America. It's earthquake-prone region, commonly referred to as the Ring of Fire.
That's right.
It's part of that system. And in this case, an earthquake has struck about 100 10 kilometers.
And you would think that they would build their shit based off of like, hey, we're in the ring of fire. I mean, it's kind of like in California, right? Like, you're going to be going through a lot of earthquakes, which I did growing up in Southern California. I mean, for 30 years. You just get them all the fucking time. But you reflect on like, hey, we got to make sure that we use like rebar, whatever. Like we got to have some structural integrity with this shit, because eventually it will happen where an earthquake happens, and you don't want this to happen, you would think. But unfortunately, these people, they just continue to build buildings just like this that have no actual structural integrity, and you end up in just tragedy every single time.
Below the surface, reaching the surface as a magnitude 7.4 quake, which is a major earthquake.
It is huge,
resulting in major damage, as we are seeing on the screen.
That leads to my other question here. When you talk about the depth, how does that kind of factor in? Because I know that this was a fairly deep earthquake. How does it kind of compare, and what does that kind of tell us?
Well, and also you guys got to remember that the Richter scale is on a bell curve. So like the difference on the scale is like, okay, a 7.1 compared to a 7.5. You actually have the ground shakeability doubled from 7.1 to 7.5. You would think that it wouldn't be that much of a difference, but it's actually by double. So that's just like an interesting stat that it's graded on a bell curve like that.
We actually have a very useful comparison, as we recently had the Venezuela earthquake, which were much shallower, but a similar magnitude.
But there was a back-to-back, which that's why I actually knew that stat, was because they had a 7.2 or 7.1, and then they had a 7.5 after, and then I think it even came down. After estimates came through, they were like, okay, I think it's a 7.4 or whatever the case is, or whatever. I can't remember the exact numbers what it landed on.
A deeper earthquake is typically felt across a broader area, but the fortunate thing is that it reaches the surface with shaking of slightly less intensity. So we're seeing damage.
That's what I was saying.
Over a larger.
Steve Posey, I said that she joined us on the show. Look, she's on the back of my chair right now. That's what I was saying. See that orange thing? Yeah, she's right there. Yeah, she's chilling with us. That's proof of life right there.
Area, but we're also seeing some of the more reduced impacts across the area. So we're seeing kind of the death and missing and damage numbers kind of significantly less than what we saw about a month ago.
What is the pattern there of some of the damage, like what we're seeing on your screen there? What does that tell us about maybe the direction, I guess, how the ground kind of moved from that earthquake?
Mm-hmm. It is difficult to assess the exact mechanics of an earthquake from looking at just pictures, but what we are seeing, obviously, is building collapse, and earthquake damage is typically a function of three things: earthquake source, area, preparedness, and population density. This particular earthquake hit in a sparsely populated area,
and then it's hitting fucking buildings that have no structural integrity. I don't know why he's lacking acknowledging that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for allowing me to do this Monday through Friday, and of course then members only on Saturday morning, where we don't discuss any of this shit actually. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for hanging out with us this morning. There was a lot to get through. We had massive overtime today, as you guys can see, 23 minutes of it. All right. We'll see you guys here tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness. Until then, God bless you guys. Much love, honor, respect, everybody, and be safe out there.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire.